Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We head to the funny papers and the comic books, an episode of The Adventures of Archie Andrews. This episode originally broadcast March 4th, 1950, and there's one big question. Where's Archie?
Hello? Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death. Relax, Archie. Relax.
Yes, there he is again, the young civilians and readers of Archie Comics magazine know and love so well, Archie Andrews and all his gang. And now for our weekly visit to Riverdale. It's Friday evening as we look in on the Andrews home. We find Mr. and Mrs. Andrews in the living room. Mrs. Andrews is sewing, and Mr. Andrews is reading his newspaper.
Mary.
Yes, dear.
What time is it?
Time? 5 minutes to 10.
Already? Time sure flies. Mary, let's go to bed.
Fred? Fred, isn't it a little early to be going to bed?
I don't know, dear. Seems to me we've been up till midnight every night for weeks. It won't hurt any of us to get a good night's sleep for a change.
Well, I suppose you're right, dear. We have been staying up late. But, Fred, on second thought, perhaps you better wait for Archie to come home.
Archie, isn't he home yet?
No, dear. We've been sitting right here ever since dinner, and I didn't see him come in, did you?
No, not that I recall. And after the lecture I gave him yesterday, he promised me that hereafter he'd get to bed earlier. Mary, that boy is getting...
Fred, you know how boys are.
I know how I was when I was his age. When my father told me to get home earlier, George, I got home earlier. And no nonsense about it. Where did Archie go, anyway?
I haven't any idea. He just disappeared right after dinner.
Well, let's go to bed, Archie or no Archie.
Well, maybe you're right, dear. Oh, but Fred, would you like a little snack first?
Mary, that's not a bad idea. What's in the icebox?
Well, I have some cheese. For pity's sake, who can that be at this hour?
I'll get it.
All right.
Oh, good grief. Jughead.
What'd you expect, Cinderella?
No, Jughead, I certainly did not expect Cinderella. No, Cinderella. I mean, it's Jughead.
Jughead, well, what on earth are you doing here?
I was just passing by, Mrs. Andrews, and I saw your lights were still on, so I thought I'd come in and see if Archie was still up.
Still up? He isn't even home.
He isn't?
No. Well, I thought he might be out with you someplace.
Not me. I haven't seen Archie all day.
You haven't?
Nope.
Well, isn't there a school dance or something tonight?
Nope.
Well, that's funny. Fred, where do you suppose Archie can be?
Oh, Mary, the boy probably went to a movie or something.
Nope. We've both seen every picture in town.
Really?
Yep.
He's probably over at Betty's house, or Veronica's.
Could be.
Fred, I don't like it.
Don't like what?
Archie's not being home.
Oh, Mary, I don't like it either. I told him to get home earlier.
No, Fred, I don't mean that. I mean, there's something funny about nobody knowing where he is. I'm going to call Betty.
What? Oh, now, Mary, you can't go bothering Betty.
Fred, there's no harm in calling Betty. It isn't even 10 o'clock yet, and I can see all the lights on in her house.
All right, Mary, go ahead and call if you want to.
Operator, get me Riverdale 247, please. We'll both sleep better, dear, when we find out where he is.
Yes.
Hello? Hello, Betty. This is Mrs. Andrews. I didn't wake you, did I?
Oh, no, Mrs. Andrews. I was in the shower.
Oh, I thought Archie might be there.
In the shower?
Well, no, Betty. I meant I thought perhaps he was at your house.
Oh, no, Mrs. Andrews. I haven't seen Archie all day.
Oh, you haven't?
No, is something wrong?
Well, nothing we know of, dear, but I don't know where Archie is.
Well, maybe he's at Jughead's house.
Well, I don't think so. Jughead's here, and he says he hasn't seen Archie all day.
Oh. Well, then there's only one other place he'd be.
Where's that?
Veronica's house.
Oh, well, maybe so, Betty. I'll call over there and ask.
Oh, he's there all right.
Well, I hope so. I'm sorry I disturbed you, dear.
Oh, no trouble, Mrs. Andrews. Bye.
Goodbye.
Mary, you see, I told you not to call Betty.
Fred, she didn't mind at all. But Archie isn't there.
Maybe he's at Veronica.
Yes, that's what Betty said. I'll soon find out.
Oh, now, Mary, you're not going to call there, too.
Oh, Fred, I certainly am. Riverdale 318, please.
Mary, I don't...
Fred, I just want to know where he is.
Oh, me.
No.
Hello, Veronica, this is Mrs. Andrews. I hope I didn't wake you.
Oh, no, Mrs. Andrews. We were just playing records and dancing.
Oh, thank goodness.
Beg pardon?
I didn't know where he was.
Beg pardon?
I'm glad to hear he's at your house.
Mrs. Andrews.
Yes?
I know it's none of my business, but why are you glad that Reggie Mantle's over at my house?
Oh, because I was beginning to get... Who?
Reggie Mantle?
Reggie Mantle? But where's Archie?
I'm sure I have no idea.
You mean he isn't at your house?
My goodness, I hope not. Not while Reggie's here.
Oh, dear. You mean you haven't seen him tonight?
I haven't seen him all day.
Oh, dear.
You sound upset, Mrs. Andrews. Is something wrong?
Well, no, Veronica, no. It's just that nobody seems to know where Archie is.
Have you tried Betty's house?
Yes, she thought he was at your house.
Oh. Well, how about Jughead's house?
No, he isn't there either.
Oh, my goodness, where can he be?
Well, I don't know, Veronica, but I suppose we'll find him.
I hope so.
So do I. Well, goodbye, Veronica. Thanks anyway.
That's all right. Bye, Mrs. Andrews.
Fred, he isn't there either.
All right, Mary, so he isn't there either. That's nothing to get excited about. Now, after all, Veronica's not the only girl in Riverdale.
As far as Archie's concerned, she is.
Fred, I'm getting worried.
Oh, now, Mary, just a minute. Now, there is absolutely no point to your worrying about this.
Well,
that boy is old enough to go where he pleases, when he pleases, without getting into trouble. And I'd like you to give me one good reason why you have to pick tonight to start worrying.
Well,
Now, stop being foolish, dear. There isn't a thing in the world to worry about.
Of course not. They always notify the next of kin.
Of course they do. Shut up.
Huh?
Don't talk that way.
I'm sorry.
All right. Now, Mary, don't you pay any attention to Jughead. I tell you, dear, there's nothing to worry about.
Sure.
Not a thing.
Sure. He had plenty of identification on him.
please stop talking like that.
Gee, Mrs. Andrews, I'm just trying to cheer you up.
Well, don't. Cheer her up like that much longer and she'll break down.
I'm sorry.
Now, let's stop all this nonsense. Now, Archie's been out until 10 o'clock at night before there, and he'll be out until 10 o'clock at night again. I don't see any reason to start worrying.
Sure. Sometimes people are missing for days before they find the body.
Jughead, for the last time
Fred,
now.
that settles it.
Huh?
I am not going to sleep until we find that boy.
But,
Jughead doesn't know where he is, Betty doesn't know, and Veronica doesn't know, and we don't know. And there's no dance or no movie that he'd go to. Fred, if that isn't reason enough to worry, I'd like to know what is.
But I...
Now, Fred, you and Jughead are going out to look for Archie right now, and I don't want you to come back until you've found him.
We'll find him, Mrs. Andrews. Dead or alive.
Jughead! Don't talk that way. Fred, go on now. Put your coat on.
Oh, me. All right, dear, all right. But, Jughead, the next time you come by our house and see the lights on, will you please let us know so we can turn them off?
Mr. Andrews, do you want me to call the police station while you check up on the hospitals?
Jughead, if you don't stop being so melodramatic, you're going to need a hospital.
Huh?
Now, we are not going to the police station or the hospital. We are going to the drugstore first. Unless I miss my guess, the only trouble Archie is having is getting the last sip out of a chocolate soda.
Yeah, I never thought of the drugstore. I bet that's where Archie is.
Probably is. Come on, we'll take my car and... Oh, good grief.
What's the matter?
I just remembered. I meant to stop for gasoline on the way home, and I forgot all about it. And the gas tank is practically empty.
Gee whiz. Have you got enough left to get to a gas station?
Maybe if we coast down the hill.
Mr. Andrews, I got
How
it.
do these things happen to me?
Mr. Andrews,
Just when I'm in a hurry, I have to worry about gasoline.
Mr. Andrews,
So what's the matter with you?
Nothing. But we don't have to take your car.
Well, if you think I'm going to walk all over this town, you're crazy.
Oh, I don't mean walk, Mr. Andrews. But Archie's jalopy is right here. Let's take that.
Archie's still... Why, Jughead, I'm glad you thought of that. It's a fine idea. We'll go in that.
Sure. And don't forget, we already know something about Archie.
Yeah, what's that?
If Archie's been killed, it wasn't in an automobile accident. Okay, Mr. Andrews, I won't say another word.
March 4th, 1950, The Adventures of Archie Andrews on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily? without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets. It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
I had a real hard time watching Riverdale, because this is the Archie Andrews I know, Archie and Jughead and all of that. March 4th, 1950, The Adventures of Archie Andrews on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
I hated to make Fred go looking for Archie, but he's never just disappeared like this before. Oh, dear. Maybe that's news about Archie now. Hello, Mrs. Andrews. Betty, what are you doing here?
Well, after you called, Mrs. Andrews, I got to worrying about Archie, and I came over to see if everything is all right.
Oh, that's sweet of you, dear, but I don't know if everything's all right or not. Mr. Andrews just went out to look for Archie.
Golly, wasn't he at Veronica's house?
No, he wasn't. And Jughead says he and Archie have seen all the movies in town, and there's no dance or anything at the school tonight.
Well, golly, where could he be?
That's a question. That's what I'm getting so worried about.
Oh, please don't worry, Mrs. Andrews. There's nothing to worry about. They say no news is good news.
Yes, I know, Betty, but I just seem to have a premonition that something terrible's happened.
Golly, you do?
Yes, Betty, I do.
Oh, golly, my Aunt Matilda had a premonition once.
She did?
She dreamt that my Uncle Oscar was going to die.
And did he?
Worse than that.
What?
He ran off with a tattooed lady in the circus.
Betty, you see, when people have premonitions, they usually turn out to be true. Now, that settles it. I'm going to call the police.
The police?
Yes, Archie's definitely missing, and I want them to find him before it's too late.
Too late for what?
I don't know. Operator, get me the police.
Oh, golly.
Hello? This is Mary Andrews of 317 Maple Street, and I want to report a missing person. Yes, it's my son. His name is Archie. Yes, Archie Andrews. Well, he's a high school student, about 5'7", and the last time I saw him, he was wearing gray slacks and a red bow tie and a black sweater with a big letter R on it. That's right. Anything else? Oh, yes. In all likelihood, he's driving his jalopy, an old wreck. There's only one like it in town.
Mr. Andrews?
What?
Maybe we would have been better off walking.
Don't be so silly. This jalopy is faster than walking.
Yeah, but when you walk, you don't feel so much like a milkshake.
Never mind, Jug. This was your idea, so stop complaining. Oh, there's the drugstore right down the block there.
Yeah, you better put on the brakes, Mr. Andrews.
With a full block to go?
You bet. I know this jalopy better than you do.
Jug, that's silly. Now watch. I'll stop this car right in front of that drugstore, or my name isn't Fred Andrews.
Hiya, Joe.
Yeah. Jug, don't be funny. I'll back up to the drugstore.
Mr. Andrews, you might miss it again. It'll be easier if I got out and walked back.
Oh, all right, Jughead. You look and see if Archie's in there, and I'll wait for you here.
Okay, Mr. Andrews. Be right back.
Don't stop to have any sodas now.
I won't.
Fine thing. Mary gets all upset over nothing. I had to go traipsing all over town in this old wreck looking for Archie when he's probably
Well, now, this looks interesting.
Oh. Hello, officer.
Hello.
Oh, I'm not parking here. I'm just...
Tell me something. Is this your car, mister?
My car? Well, no, as a matter of fact, it isn't my car.
I see. And you happen to know whose car it is?
Well, yes, I do. It belongs to...
Well. And just what did you do with him?
Well, I took him down to the... Do with him? Do with who?
The youngster owns this car.
Archie?
Oh, then you do know him.
Oh, yes, I've met him several times. Do I know him? Of course I know him.
And perhaps you can tell me where he is now.
I haven't the vaguest idea.
Oh, so you won't talk, eh?
Officer, look,
That's all I wanted to know. Now move over, mister, and start this jalopy. You and I are going to take a little trip down to headquarters.
Oh, but officer, I can't right now.
I said start this jalopy.
Yes, sir.
And don't you try any tricks.
Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir. But, officer, look, I'm sure you don't understand. If you only give me a chance, I can explain everything.
Mr. Andrews, I looked all over the drugstore and there wasn't a sign of Archie anywheres in there, and he was. Now there isn't a sign of Mr. Andrews either.
Oh, dear. Betty, I wish someone would call.
Golly, Mrs. Andrews, I wish you wouldn't be so nervous. They'd call if there was anything to tell you. You shouldn't worry so much. It's not good for you.
Oh, Betty, I can't help worrying.
Mrs. Andrews, suppose I make some hot tea. Maybe that would make you feel better.
Betty, the only thing that'll make me feel better is knowing where Archie is.
Well, let me make you some tea anyway, Mrs. Andrews. It'll just take me a minute.
Well, all right, dear. Betty's so sweet. How can I help worrying? They must have some news about Archie by now. Oh, dear. Hello? Hello?
Oh, hello, Mary. This is Fred.
Oh, Fred, where are you?
At the police station.
The police? Fred, what's he done?
What's who done?
Archie.
Mary, I'm not here because of Archie.
You're not?
But I am here because of his jalopy.
What's the jalopy done?
Nothing. I got arrested for driving it. Some darn fool reported it stolen or something.
Oh, dear.
For Pete's sake, come down here and identify me right away, will you?
I'll be right there. Is your car here?
Yes, dear, but you better
I'll be there in 2 minutes. Bye.
No, but Mary, wait.
Oh, dear, I've never seen anything like this. I report Archie missing and they arrest Fred for...
Here's the tea, Mrs. Andrews. Mrs. Andrews? Mrs. Andrews? Mrs. Andrews! Golly, now where did she go to? I knew she was acting funny, but I didn't think she...
Mrs. Andrews, Mr. Andrews just disappeared. I got out of the jalopy and went to the drugstore for a minute and... Oh, Betty.
Jughead, what are you doing here?
I'm looking for Mrs. Andrews. Where is she?
She just disappeared.
She what?
She disappeared right into thin air.
Boy, this is the disappearingest family I ever saw. When did this all happen?
Right after I said I'd go make her some tea.
Gee, maybe you should have offered her some Ovaltine.
Jughead, don't be funny. I'm worried about her. She seemed so upset.
Upset?
She kept pacing up and down and saying, why don't they call? Why don't they call?
Gee, she's cracking up.
Jughead, don't talk that way.
Well, you never can tell. I'm reading a book right now about a woman who lost a child and went all to pieces.
Golly, Jughead, you don't think that
Could be. Look at it this way. Archie's missing. Mrs. Andrews is worried. She doesn't know what's happened to him. She waits and waits, hour after hour.
Oh, Jughead, it's only a few minutes.
Same thing. Her nerves are tense. She's worried. She's frightened. She's upset.
Yes?
She can't stand the waiting. The phone that won't ring. The empty house. Her son, her little darling baby boy is gone.
Yes?
And then what happened? What? You come in and offer her tea and boom, she snaps.
Oh, golly.
It's all too much for her. She's got to get out of the house. She's got to get away from here. She can't stand it.
Golly, Jughead, what do we do?
I don't know. That's as far as I've gotten in the book.
Jughead, there is only one thing for us to do.
What's that?
Call the police to look for her and warn them that Mrs. Andrews isn't in her right mind.
Oh, I've never seen a night like this. Archie lost, Fred in jail, and everybody running around in circles. Oh, dear. Now, what's the matter with that motor? I can't... Oh, dear. Out of gas. Of all times, just when I'm in a hurry. Dear. Well, there's only one thing to do. I'll just have to go find a gas station and get some gas, that's all. Sometimes I wonder what that family of mine would do if I didn't take care of everything.
What did the police say about Mrs. Andrews, Betty?
Well, I gave them a description of her, Jughead, and they said they'd send an alarm out right away.
Well, with so many of the Andrews family running around loose, the police ought to come up with at least one of them.
Jughead, this is no time to be funny. I'm really worried about her. Oh, golly, maybe that's her. Veronica!
Betty, what are you doing here?
Oh, that's a long story. What are you doing here?
Well, I just drove Reggie Mantle home, and I thought I'd drop by and see if they found Archie yet. Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Veronica.
Well, no, Veronica, they didn't.
My goodness, I wonder where he can be.
Well, we're looking for Mrs. Andrews now.
Mrs. Andrews?
Uh-huh, she disappeared.
And Mr. Andrews did, too.
Mr. Andrews? Oh, golly, maybe they found somebody. Chuck, you answer it.
I got it. Hello?
Jughead, is that you?
Yeah, is that you, Mr. Andrews?
Yes, where's my wife?
How did you hear of it?
Hear of what?
You mean you don't know?
Don't know what?
See, maybe I better not tell you.
Better not tell me what?
It would only worry you.
Chuck, look, I don't know what you're talking about. But if someone didn't get down here to identify me right away, they'll lock me up for the night.
Lock you up? Where are you?
At the police station.
Gee whiz, what did you do?
I didn't do anything, Jughead. It's just a mistake. And as soon as someone identifies me, they'll let me out.
Gee, Mr. Andrews, maybe you'd be better off making a clean breast of it. Sign a confession.
But Jughead...
Turn state's evidence.
Jughead,
Throw yourself on the mercy of the court.
Jughead! For Pete's sake, cut that out.
Who, me?
Yes, you. Now, I tell you, I haven't done anything. Nothing at all. Even the police believe that, but they want someone to identify me for routine reasons. Now, do you understand?
Anything you say may be held against you.
Jughead, look. Quit playing lawyer and get someone down here to identify me.
March 4th, 1950. The Adventures of Archie Andrews. I'm Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Adventures of Archie Andrews. March 4th, 1950. Where's Archie?
Well, Mr. Andrews, Veronica's here, and she's got a car. We could send her down there.
Well, Chuck, that's fine. I'm from Pete's. Tell her to get down here in a hurry, will you?
Okay, but remember, Mr. Andrews.
Remember what?
A man's innocent until he's proven guilty.
Jughead.
Okay, bye, Mr. Andrews.
Goodbye.
Jug, what happened?
I'm not sure, Betty. But, Veronica, you better go right down to the police station.
The police station?
Yeah, you gotta spring Mr. Andrews before he goes up the river. This mob's gotta stick together, see?
Now, I was sure there was a gas station on this street somewhere.
Just a minute there, lady. Just a minute.
Oh, Officer Good. I'm looking for...
What's your name?
Mary Andrews, but I'm looking for...
Well. Mary Andrews.
Yes, officer, but I'm in a hurry right now. And I have
just what is the hurry?
I can't find a gas station.
Where did you lose it?
Right over here somewhere. Lose it? Officer, I didn't lose it. I'm trying to find a gas station because my car ran out of gas.
Now, that was most unfortunate. And just where were you going when your car ran out of gas?
Well, I was on the way to the police station.
How interesting. How very interesting. And exactly what were you going to do at the police station?
Get my husband out of jail.
Oh, really? Your husband? And just what, may I ask, is he in for?
Well, I don't know, officer. He got arrested while he was looking for my son, who was missing.
Well, your son is missing, and your husband's in jail.
Yes.
And your car is out of gas.
Yes.
Don't call me officer. Call me Mr. Anthony.
What?
Now, madam, don't you get excited. It's not good for you in your condition.
But I tell you, I'm looking...
Keep calm, and everything's going to be all
right.
right.
Officer,
we'll take you home, and in the morning all these horrid thoughts will have vanished with the night.
Officer, Officer, are you crazy?
Am I crazy? Am I crazy? That's rather nice.
Officer, I tell
All
you...
right, now, madam, you just come along with me, and I'll take you home where you have the very best again.
But, Officer, I don't want to go home. I have to go to the police station.
I know.
Officer, let go of my
Oh, golly, Chuck, I wish somebody would call up or something.
Me too. I've never seen the phone in this house so quiet.
Betty, where's my wife?
Golly, Mr. Andrews.
She was Mr. Andrews. How's it feel to be out?
Jughead, never mind your jokes and tell me what's happening around here.
Well, I'm not sure we know, Mr. Andrews. What happened to you?
I got arrested for driving Archie's jalopy, and I still don't know why. And if Veronica here hadn't come down to the police station and identified me, I'd still be there.
You took a lot of identifying, too.
Now, look, what is this Veronica tells me about Mrs. Andrews being missing?
Well, yes, you see, she...
Now what? Officer, you...
Sorry to bother you, mister, but does this lady live here?
Mary!
Fred, golly, Mrs. Andrews. My goodness.
But I thought you were missing.
She's got something missing. But just tell me, will you, whether she lives here or not?
Of course she does. She's my wife.
That's all I wanted to... Say, mister, haven't I seen you someplace before?
Now, listen.
Fred, how'd you get out of jail?
Now, Mary,
I thought so.
Officer,
You sound all right to me, Mrs. Andrews.
You broke out of jail.
Judge, will you please...
Broke right
Veronica,
out of jail.
Now, just a minute. Just 1 minute. Now, that's better. Now, listen to me, all of you. This nonsense has gone far enough. Too far, in fact.
I'll say it has.
Yes, Mr. Andrews.
Yes, dear.
Uh-huh.
An hour ago, I was ready to get to sleep. And then, just because my wife starts worrying about Archie, we get mixed up with policemen and jalopies and all sorts of things until I'm ready to go...
Stir crazy?
No, Jughead, and be quiet. Now, it's high time we straightened this out and decided where the dickens Archie is.
You mean your son is really missing?
He certainly is.
Yes, and I took a jalopy and got arrested for stealing it. Now, what I want to know is, who called the police?
Fred, I'm afraid I did.
Mary, you did?
When I told him to look for Archie, I told him to look for his jalopy.
Oh, fine. Mary, why on earth didn't
Fred,
you...
never mind now. I'm sorry. But what I want to know is who almost got me arrested.
Golly, I guess I did, Mrs. Andrews.
You did? But why, Betty?
Well, you see, I was worried about you anyway, and then when you ran out of the house, I decided I better call the police.
Oh, for pity's sake. So that's why this policeman stopped me.
Madam, do you mean that impossible story you told me was true?
It certainly was, officer.
Well, bless my soul. Well, now, madam, if you're not Daffy and your husband is not a jailbreaker, I have only one thing left to say to all of you. Good night, folks.
Well, good night, officer. Good night.
Good night.
Well, thank heavens we finally got things straightened out.
Yes, dear, but there's one thing you seem to forget.
Well, what's that, dear?
The thing that started all this. Where is Archie?
Oh, dear. Hasn't he turned up yet?
No, he hasn't. And Mary, even I'm getting worried about him now.
What's all the noise? Archie!
Golly, my goodness!
Archie, where the dickens have you been?
And what are you doing in your pajamas?
What do you think I'm doing? I've been in bed for 2 hours, but how am I supposed to sleep with all this noise?
But you mean to say you were up in that... Oh,
The Andrews will be back in just a moment. Meanwhile, tell me, friends, are you saving for a rainy day? The best people are doing it, so it must be a good thing. Must pay off. So how about that? An emergency fund all saved away can make any dark day the future may have in store much easier to take. Especially when your emergency money is invested in United States savings bonds. That's right. Savings bonds issued by our own government and as safe as our government. They're one of the best places you can find for your savings because savings bonds make your money grow and grow. In only 10 years, every $3 you put in grows into $4. Every $300, $400. And maybe you didn't know it, but saving in savings bonds is just like rolling off a log. Yes, sir. You can join either of two plans that make saving as certain as the sun. If you're employed, join the payroll savings plan where you work. Now, if you're in business for yourself, you're a builder or a farmer or a contractor, join the bond-a-month plan, a free service where you bank. For future security, save in savings bonds now. And now back to the Andrews. It's later that night, and everything has been settled, and the family's gone to sleep.
Fred, answer to the phone.
Yeah, that's telephone over there. Hello?
Mr. Andrews?
Yeah.
This is the police department. We finally found your son.
Good. You finally found my what?
Your son? We've got him down here at the police station. But he's in a very bad way. He keeps insisting his name is Jughead.
He keeps insisting his name is Jughead. I give up!
You've been listening to another chapter of The Adventures of Archie Andrews, written by Carl Jantel and based on the copyrighted feature appearing in Archie Comics magazine. Archie is played by Bob Hastings, Jughead by Harlan Stone. Mom and Dad Andrews are played by Allie Sherman and Arthur Cole. Veronica and Betty by Gloria Mann and Rosemary Rice. The Policeman was Charles Irving, and this program is produced and directed by Kenneth McGregor. Listen next Saturday at this same time for more of the merry adventures of Archie Andrews. This is Dick Dudley wishing you all a very pleasant weekend. So long, everybody.
Oh, March 4th, 1950. Love me some screwball comedy, and where better than The Adventures of Archie Andrews on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Now an episode of the soap opera Claudia, March 4th, 1948 on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Paradiso! Paradiso!
He must be inside the house, David.
Probably putting the plumber to work.
I didn't even know we had a plumber.
We've got to have a plumber to install the steam riser line in the wall we've cut open.
I didn't even know we had a steam riser line.
What did you think it does? Stay in the cellar?
What stays in the cellar?
The steam, of course. Only it doesn't. It rises. That's the point.
David, we're going to have steam. I thought we were going to have oil.
We are.
Well, what do you know? I'm beginning to learn all kinds of things about houses.
Darling, you're practically an architect. At this rate, in another 5 years, you'll be able to design a first-class birdhouse all by yourself.
A birdhouse?
Well, maybe not a fancy birdhouse, nothing with plumbing, you understand, but a one-room, common, everyday garden variety birdhouse.
At least when I build a birdhouse, it'll have 4 walls. Not like the houses some people I know build.
Ours does look a little discouraging, doesn't it?
Discouraging?
Well, we'll have that wall back up before the end of next week.
Uh-huh, maybe.
If we can find Mr. Paradiso.
I knew there was going to be an if. Hey, there's Mr. Paradiso now. And your wall is still flat on the ground.
Mr. Paradiso.
Hello, Martin.
Good morning, Mr. Paradiso. You don't have to leave everything you're doing just to say hello. But I like it. Hello.
I like it too, Mrs. Norton. It's good to get a breath of nice, clean city air.
We left New York hours ago, Mr. Paradiso. We couldn't hold our breath all the time.
Married yourself quite a little card, didn't you, Mr. Norton? I like that.
You mean you think she's joking?
Sure, about holding her breath. Wasn't she?
Well, what's the main trouble this morning, Mr. Paradiso?
Now, you see that wall there? Why isn't it up?
Because you haven't got the steam riser line in.
Say, which one of you two is the architect?
He is.
All of this adds up, I suppose, to what you're trying to say. Your plumber didn't show up.
Right the first time, Mr. Norton. Guess you are the architect after all.
The plumber didn't show up. But he can't do that.
Oh, can't he?
Maybe the plumber's sick.
Maybe, but he's probably tying trout flies, or else he just doesn't like work.
Well, can't you call him up on the phone and tell him he just has to be here? We need him.
He knows we need him.
It's just got something else to do that he thinks is more important.
Well, how bad is it? Can you juggle the work around a little?
That's just it. I can't.
What's he mean, David?
Well, the trouble is that if Mr. Paradiso has to go ahead with the other parts of the job now and This very cold weather, it's going to cost him more than he figured.
Oh, no.
Trouble is also, I'm already cutting so close to the line on costs here that I don't see how I can hold down to the estimate.
You mean because the plumber doesn't show up today, it's going to cost us a lot more money?
Well, it isn't Mr. Paradiso's fault that the plumber doesn't show up.
Well, it isn't our fault either.
Lady's got something there.
And it wasn't our fault that the wall was so complicated that it cost lots more money to fix it than we expected in the first place.
But it's our house, darling. You've got to plan on
And when they dig the well, it won't be our fault if they have to go down hundreds and hundreds of feet.
Now, wait a minute, darling.
Oh, David, we thought it was going to cost us $8,000. And then we paid 10. And the repairs are costing almost twice as much as we wanted them to. And now, all because a plumber doesn't show up.
Darling, this is our house.
I know it's our house, but I'm beginning to think that maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's too much for us.
Claudia, this is where we're going to live. This will be our lives. How can it be too much?
I don't see why our lives have to be so full of troubles.
Trouble? Darling, this is nothing. Nothing compared to the trouble the people must have had in 1760 building this house in the first place.
They may have had it harder, but they didn't have it any colder. I think the trouble with your wife is that she's cold, Mr. Norton.
Is that it, Claudia?
It's a lot of it. David, I'm sorry.
You're sorry. Here I am making brilliant speeches about houses and plumbers while you're standing around freezing to death. Fine sort of husband I turned out to be.
You're the most wonderful sort of husband in the world, and I'm going to give you a kiss.
Well, then stop talking about it.
Mrs. Norton won't be any warmer in this house with a wall out. Why doesn't she drive down the road to the Brewster filling station and sit inside there?
I want to stay here and hear what you
You
decide.
aren't staying here a second longer, Skinny Malink. Now, you stayed here a little too long already.
Besides, we may not have to decide anything at all. If the plumber shows up this afternoon, he'll be able to finish enough by tomorrow so we can really get started on that
Oh,
wall.
I know he won't. This house just isn't built that way. I know that by now the poor plumber probably has something terrible the matter with him, and he won't be able to plumb for months.
Well, you leave that to us. Now, I'll drive you down to the Brewsters.
I'll drive myself down.
You will not. I'll drive you.
Fine. Then I'll drive you back here, and we can go back and forth and back and
all
forth.
right. Drive yourself, but drive carefully.
I'll keep my eyes on the road and my hand on the wheel and my feet on the gas.
That is what I'm afraid of, darling. Now, no fancy business. Don't try to park the car.
Park the car? Well, that's the last thing I do. All I ever do, David, is stop it.
Ain't got none.
May I come in?
Lady, we ain't got it. This here's the Brewster service station, but we ain't got service. No gas, no oil, no water, no air, no nothing.
All I want to do is to get warm.
How's that?
I just want to get warm.
Well, we ain't got anything else but heat. We got that. Come in.
Oh, that feels wonderful.
It'll feel better if you close the door.
Oh, I will.
You do look kind of cold, lady. Why don't you come over here, sit by the oil stove? Gives off plenty of heat.
Oh, that's even better already.
Right cold day, all right. Going to be even colder next week, I think, too.
Oh, that's bad, isn't it?
Yep, it is. If you don't like cold.
I don't.
No. I don't think anybody does. Might as well read a newspaper, I guess. Maybe a magazine.
Thank you, Mr. Brewster.
I ain't Brewster. I'm Jessup. Cornelius Jessup.
Oh, well, I'm glad to know you, too.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.
Certainly is a funny service station in a way. Isn't it, Mr. Jessup?
How funny.
Well, you haven't got any gas, no oil, no water, or anything else. But in spite of it, you're really very nice to people.
Thanks. We ain't really open today.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I see, but,
I can see what you're thinking. You're wanting to know what I'm doing here if we ain't open.
Oh, no, Mr. Jessup. I'm sure you must have a very good reason for
I'm
being
keeping
here.
an eye on things for my cousin.
Oh, you're Mr. Brewster's cousin?
No, I ain't. Brewster's dead. Been dead 10 years.
I'm sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. Mean old penny pinching, no good skinflint. Did his best to cheat my cousin when he bought this place from him. Didn't get away with it, though.
I'm glad.
I can see what you're thinking.
You can?
You're thinking, why isn't my cousin here instead of me?
Oh, no, Mr. Jessup. I'm sure your cousin has just as good a reason for not being here as you have for taking his place.
Yeah. My cousin, Philip, who owns this service station, is filling in for his brother-in-law, Sam Jones, who owns the diner in town.
You see, I was right.
And if you want to know why I'm not filling in for Sam Jones myself, it's because I can't cook, and my cousin Philip can.
I knew there was a very good reason.
Yeah. And if you want to know why Sam Jones can't be at his diner today, it's because he's got to drive his wife's sister, Sally Lou Martin, to Bridgeport to get her wedding dress, because she's got to be married next week.
Married?
Mm-hmm. Oh, if you want to know why I don't drive Sally Lou to Bridgeport myself, save all this jumping around, that's because we Jessops ain't talking to the Martin branch of the family. Now you know everything, and you don't have to ask no more questions.
But I haven't asked any.
Ain't you?
Not one question. Weddings. Don't you think they're wonderful?
That there is a question. And here's my answer. I think they're a waste of time. Why, they can't just stand in front of the Justice of the Peace and get hitched and save all this trouble. I'm danged if I know.
Oh, it's a little trouble. But weddings are worth it, I think.
Little trouble. Here I am, perfectly good plumber. I ought to be working today, only instead I got to be...
You're a plumber?
Yep, sure am. I'm supposed to be working down there on the River Road on that old Tucker place those city people bought. I sure could use the money, only I got to stay here instead.
Mr. Jessup, do you know how badly they need you down there at that old Tucker place?
Pretty bad, I guess. You don't need a plumber every day, but, lady, when you need one bad.
I'm Mrs. Norton. I'm half of the city people who bought the Tucker place. And, Mr. Jessup, you just haven't any idea how important you are to us.
Sure is a shame. Somebody's got to stay here and keep an eye on things at the service station.
But you haven't anything to serve.
Well, somebody might call up help getting a tire fixed. Only there isn't a chance of that happening because nobody's out driving today.
Mr. Jessup, could you...
Mrs. Norton, how long can you stay here?
I could stay here all day.
Mrs. Norton, you stay right here. Going to get to work right now on your house.
But, Mr. Jessup, what'll I do if something happens?
Nothing'll happen, Miss Norton. You just stay here, answer the phone. Only it won't ring. I'm going right down and get your house built. That's man's work.
But, Mr. Jessup...
Many thanks, Miss Norton. It's just like money in the bank to me.
To me, too. Goodbye. Well, here we are. Oh, Mr. Jessup said you wouldn't ring. Oh, you. Oh, I promised him I'd answer. Why did you have to ring just after he left? Brewster's service station. Hello? Yes? What? Oh, no. 3 Oaks Road. You've got a flat tire and you want me to fix it? But I'm taking the place of the plumber, Mr. Jessup. You see, his cousin, Mr. Martin, had to go to a wedding, and I'm just here.
March 4th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit my webpage, classicradio.stream, where you can stream our shows on demand, learn more about classic radio collecting, and contact me, classicradio.stream. Don't forget our shows are also available anywhere podcasts are served, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please thank this radio station, support their advertisers, and tell all your friends the great radio shows are here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater, your favorite radio station.